Hi, my name is Glory. I'm a third year student studying at the Bartlett School of Architecture in London, originally from Hong Kong.
And I'm Shan. I'm a third year architecture student studying at the Bartlett as well, and I'm originally from Malaysia.
You're listening to Designing Thoughts with the Archigals, a podcast where we talk about working and creativity, living well, the human condition with relationships, and life experiences.
Before we get into the podcast, I would just like to ask for a small favor. It would mean a lot to us if you could leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or leave a comment on our YouTube channel just to let us know how you feel about the podcast and other topics you'd be interested in hearing in. Hi everyone, welcome back to our podcast, Designing Thoughts. I'm your host, Glory, and this is my co-host, Shan. And today is actually the final episode of the podcast, which is really sad. But then we thought it would be nice to do a wrap up of everything, tie up the loose ends, and just talk about our final experiences. Well, we started this podcast back in second year, end of second year, because we thought it'd be nice to recap our experiences. And then it was just nice to chat, during lockdown and everything. And then the podcast was born. And then we also wanted to document our experiences at the Bartlett in third year, and then we really enjoyed doing that. I think it's just now clashing of time, and it's just really hard to find time to record and stuff. Yeah. So we thought it would be nice to tie up the loose ends and do a final episode on after jobs and after all of university, where we're at now, and then moving forward. So we hope you enjoy this episode on jobs and where we're at now.
Okay, so I guess we'll start with after uni. So the summer show was in July, and then it was people had applied for jobs before that as well, May, June, July. But in architecture, I feel it works very differently from other industries. I know other industries recruit up to a year in advance, and you have to go through a whole tests, interviews, group interviews, blah 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 blah. But architecture is kind of here's my CV and my portfolio, please hire me, and then they'll interview you, maybe, or they won't, and then you get the job, and you start they're oh, start next week. You're okay, cool.
Yeah, no, you summed it up so nicely, because I know my friend, my flatmate, she got her placement this year, and she applied it a year ago. She was doing the interviews and everything all throughout her final year, and then she got it. And then like you said, after summer show, that's when you have to do everything, because I think even before summer show you didn't even have your full portfolio ready yet. Yeah. So then you have to put everything together at the final step, and then start sending out applications. And like you said, please hire me. It was just really, everything was really rushed. It was really tough. And then for me, because over summer I went to New York for a fellowship, so in some way, I felt I missed out the golden time to apply for jobs in architecture, obviously, when everyone was in London looking for jobs. Yeah. I don't know if it was the case for you, because you went back to Malaysia and other people went back home. So I don't know if that was the case, but then I certainly felt I missed out a huge chunk of my time between because I wasn't here from July to August.
I thought actually I would have but I think I started at a good time, but I think I would have rather have gotten a job earlier. So that would be secure after summer. But then again, I know people can't hold jobs for you forever, so
yeah, right.
It's a bit hard.
Yeah, they say you have to start 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So
and even when you were applying, firms were still hiring, to be fair.
Yeah, it is just really uncertain. And I think also I spoke to my tutor from my final year, and he was saying that the market was in general just pretty bad, I think, this year. So I think the hiring process is just a lot slower.
Yeah.
And
it was definitely better than in the COVID years, but even then I felt firms didn't hire as many part ones. I don't know.
Yeah.
Even my firm has so many part twos, but not even half as many part ones. I don't know what's happening.
I'm the only part one at my firm.
Yeah, exactly. I feel firms just don't want part one. I mean, I get why we're kind of useless, but but still, I don't know.
No, I remember you saying if I was a company, I would not hire me.
For sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I technically documented the difficulties of job hunting on my YouTube, because that time was so tough. I swear to God, September was the worst month of my life. As in this year, it was so bad, because the idea of uncertainty is just so bad.
I think compounded with other people have jobs as well. So then compare.
I had such a bad week. I remember when you and our friends was telling when all of you guys got jobs, and then I was what's wrong with me? It was it was, I felt so bad. I know inherently nothing is wrong, right? It's just timings, luck didn't work out or anything, right? But then you just can't help feeling oh yeah, it's probably because my work is really bad, or I just I'm not good enough like for them to hire me, I think the worst thing about like job hunting is the fact that like every day you spend so much time working on applying, but then like all your effort, like at least 90%,
like it might amount to nothing.
Exactly. No, and like no, 90% is like it will amount to nothing because like you can only take one job. So like most of it just like amounts to nothing, and I just really hate that when you like put so much effort into something and it just like means nothing in the end, So it was really tough. Did you have that like when you were applying? You applied in July.
June. May and June.
Before summer show?
Yeah, I was applying during summer show, like when I was prepping for summer show, but it was discouraging. Like I wouldn't even get rejected because they don't really send out rejection letters. They just kind of ignore you.
Yeah, they ghost you.
Which is like, what the hell? That's so mean. But
yeah.
Anyway, and then like you like some people will get like interviews and stuff, and it's just like kind of discouraging. And I think what was more discouraging was that people would have gotten jobs already through connections or tutors, especially tutors, because I feel like the tutors are very clear with who they like when it comes to jobs, which was a bit like. Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're in a unit where the tutors have their own firm or like their friends have firms, you're kind of like guaranteed to like be there if they like you.
Some units just helped you, like even zero. Oh, actually, I probably should name drop units. Anyway, like, some units would help you, and some units wouldn't.
Yeah.
Or some units would just help the ones that they like. Which I mean is fine as well, but I feel like sometimes they like promise you more than they actually, I don't know.
Or more like you get false hope, or you're kind of like, before
you're like waiting on it. Maybe they like me.
Maybe not. But I mean, I'm still grateful that my tutors like helped me in the end. I mean, my tutors don't have their own firm, but like they did help me with like making my job portfolio and like just giving me some general advice on like applying to jobs, because like we said in the last episode, like the school just didn't help us with like applying for jobs or anything. So I didn't know anything about like applying to jobs. Like I was sending out cold emails. I don't know if you did this. Like I would just like look up a bunch of like architecture firms and I just send cold emails, which is actually so stupid. Like I remember talking to my mom about this and she was just like, why would you do that? And I was like, well, no one told me not to do this. So like how am I supposed to know,
I think like the biggest piece of advice would be to just send it through a reference. Like always get a reference, even if the referee is like a part one. Like you have to send it through somebody. You can't just cold send it.
So do you just say it in the email like, oh, this person referenced me?
Or like you have to know somebody inside. I feel like who like you kind of know who can like pass the portfolio to the HR.
Okay.
I feel like that like would be like, or like well,
so then the advice would be like network while you're in school.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Or like even your seniors, like even people who you don't really know.
Oh yeah, like some people talk to like the people who like graduated and was working in certain companies. Okay, yeah, like our friend did that.
It's not like that crazy. Like you don't have to like network all out.
Yeah. You can go on, I guess you can just go on LinkedIn, see where people work and then like talk to them. Hey, I'm from Bartlett too. Like, can you help me?
Although I think the school could have helped more. For example, in other schools, like I know some schools like would pass the CVs on for you, so you just send it to the school like administrator and they'll pass it on, and that's like so much more
helpful. Yeah, job hunting just sucks. Like I feel like we never at least for me, I didn't expect it to be like such an emotional roller coaster. For me,
I think you also have to like know what kind of like what you're aiming for as well. Like, and even when you're at school, like sometimes working towards like a particular type of firm is also useful instead of just like although it's good to explore your creativity and stuff, it's also quite cool. It's also like maybe more useful in the long term if you think about where you want to go end up in the end.
Yeah, like sometimes I know like people say like, oh, architecture is like really broad, you can like look into different industries, but then I found that was like maybe like a bit difficult. I don't know, maybe it's like the current economy, but like I felt like the most straightforward thing to do was just like, apply for like part one, because you're kind of like guaranteed like you're most suited for that particular job. I don't know. I just wish we got more help. Let's talk about like interviews or like small companies and big companies, because I thought that was like the one thing I learned. I thought was like really interesting, like the thought of like small company versus like big companies and like what they look in a candidate. Did you have like interviews with like?
I only had one interview.
Is at the place you work now? Okay.
So I
had like 5 interviews.
Really?
Yeah, no, that was the stuff I put in the video. Yeah, I have 5 interviews. So basically, towards the end, I was just like applying on DZ jobs because I was like, oh, they actually advertise their position, so I should actually like apply through a platform where they're actually looking for part 1. And then like 4 of them were small firms, and then one was like the big one, which I'm at now.
But
And then
also they received so many applicants. I didn't realize. Limit was.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Our friend was saying that they got like hundreds of
yeah.
applicants
So
like in the first few first day, something like that.
yeah, so I applied to this job which like rejected me. I didn't go through an interview with them, and they sent me a response email. They were like, we got 350 emails and you didn't get in. And I'm like, well, thanks for telling me that. Like, you didn't have to tell me the specific number of how many applicants you got. That's why I wasn't like good enough for like you know. But yeah, it's just crazy how many people are applying. Like, it's so tough, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't expect the competition to be so crazy. And then you would expect, like, oh, from Bartlett. Like, you know, I have a good degree from Bartlett and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to help me. Maybe not.
But I think also just because, like, everyone wants to come to London, I think. Like, even if you studied not in London. So then it's, like, lots of people.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, so going back to the whole small versus big companies thing, so I interviewed at 4 small companies, and the thing that I realized that was really different was the fact that like small companies are really like specific in what they look for in a candidate. So like I think they have like really clear outlines of like what they want. So they'll say like, oh, you have to be really proficient in like Vectorworks, or like have to be really proficient in CAD, or you need to have like previous experience in working in UK residential projects. And I was like, but I just graduated and I'm a part 1. Like, how am I supposed to have those experiences, you know?
That's true.
So they were just really specific, and especially because I worked on like completely hand drawings in like 3rd year. So when I showed them stuff, they were like really supportive. They were like, oh, we're so like, it's so nice to see you like exploring all these methodologies and stuff. But then I guess when it comes down to like being, I guess, quote unquote realistic, they're like, we're not gonna hire you because like you didn't like use the softwares that we're looking for in this particular candidate. Whereas I feel like, which I totally understand, you know, because like if it's a small firm, they need like really specific people to execute the tasks that they want them to execute, and they don't have enough like, you know, finances or space to train up people or time to do that. So I completely get it. Whereas like in bigger companies, like I guess obviously they have like more resources, time, and like money to train up people the way that they want to do, so they can just like hire people that they think align with the company, like based on like their character, personality, and like hire them. That's how I felt when like I was like having my interview with the company I work now.
Yeah, I think also like just based on now when I hear like people who interviewed discussing the interviews that took place, they also like focus a lot on like character and how the people are like, whether they like to work with them or not.
You mean big companies? Well, is that how you felt when you like did the interview with your company? Like, you think they focus a lot more on like your personality and like,
yeah, or like whether you're just easy to get along with? Because like even when I overheard conversations of like people discussing interviews, a lot of it was just like, oh, they presented themselves really well. Their portfolio was like not bad. Like I feel like the work is like depends, you know.
really?
Either your work is super exceptional or you're like just nice. I don't know.
Yeah, you think? I mean, I don't know. We can only speak from like our own experiences, you know. But I do feel like I try to be like as authentic and myself as possible, like between like all the 5 interviews that I went to. But like when I do see like the, you know, like the rejection emails that they give you, a lot of the time it's just saying like your skills are not like a good fit for the company. So sometimes like even though it's really tough to like face that rejection, like it hit me really hard in like the first 1 or 2 rejections I got, but like ultimately I just came to the realization it's just like skills wise, and it's just like not the right time. So like it's fine, it's not really like rejecting you as a complete person, you know. So then I try to like think of it from that way.
That sounds really helpful.
Yeah, and also like the other thing that I wrote down is like I feel like interviews in general, I'm just like trying not to get my hopes up, because like sometimes you really want to like go to this one place. I remember like interviewing for this one small company, and then I really liked their vibe, and the founder who I spoke to, and she was a really nice person. And then like afterwards I thought the interview went really well, so I was like, oh, I got this in the bag, like I'm gonna go there, it's so nice, it's a good location. And I just like got my hopes up. So like when she sent me that rejection letter, like it hit me so hard.
Oh, shit, yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, so like afterwards, like for the next 4, I was just like, you know what, I'm just not gonna get my hopes up. So like after the interview I'm like, yeah, it went well, but if I don't get it, it's fine, you know. So that was like my way of dealing with it.
Yeah, I think also like going into it, like at the start of the application process, you have like these favorites which you think like, oh, for sure they'll hire me, like my work is so suited to theirs, but you know, it's just like it's a lot of it's fate, kind of.
Yeah, I do feel like it's like timing and luck and everything, it all plays together. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is like I feel like architecture is just like in general like an underpaid profession. I don't know if you feel this. I mean, I feel like a lot of people like talk about this even in like during Bartlett, like during school they were talking about this, because Reba has this like range of like how much you should get paid as in part 1, and like obviously with like rising like living expenses and everything, it's like really hard, especially in London, you know. So like I remember like going to this one interview and they like talked about like the salary that was like really low, and I was like, oh, like would I work here for like a really low salary just for experience, you know? So it's like, I don't know, it's a lot of thoughts like going through this. I feel like it's just growing up a lot, you start to think about money and
I think everything. It is really shitty because like even compared to other jobs, the pay is quite bad, I have to say, because like I had a job offer for like a totally different industry, and the pay was like so much better, like and I wasn't even gonna be working more hours or like more intensely just based on like my experience doing internship in that company versus how I work now. Like I feel architecture is only for the people who can afford it or like people who really love it, which is not good.
Yeah, especially I think it's just like the pay for like long hours as well, and like you don't get paid overtime, I suppose.
I guess the view is that like at a part 1 level you're not really getting paid to work. It's as in like a lot of it's also like training. Like, like you're learning through while working, so then therefore it's like different.
Yeah, but still like I'm grateful that, you know, we get to learn and stuff, and like I mean the pay does cover like the living expenses in London, so like, you know, I'm really grateful for that. And then the last point I wanted to talk about like during that really difficult like job hunting experience that I had was just like in order to like ease the process of like not having a job like throughout September, like it was really tough because I really hate like not being busy, and the guilt of just like using money that is not my own and not making money after I graduate was just like eating me on the inside, and I felt so horrible like that. I think that was why I was feeling so bad. And not
also like knowing that after this we still have to go back to school, you know, like we still have to pay for school somehow.
You mean like for master?
For part 2,
yeah, I guess if you're going down that route, so then it's like a lot of these things that you start to think about. I guess that's the whole like adulting, like growing up part, you know. So yeah, it's just a lot of these things, and then also just the uncertainty, like, oh, but I don't know when my job is gonna come. Like in September, I'm like, am I not gonna have a job until like December? Like, is it gonna be a few months of like me just sitting here in my house, in my flat, and just being sad? So it's like really hard. So like during that process, I think it was just like I did lots of reading on like self-improvement, and I journaled a lot. I just tried to like talk to people, like just to stay positive and stay afloat. And also I think the really good thing actually that I did during that time is actually spending weekends off, even though it felt like very counterproductive to be like, oh, but you should be using this time to like find jobs. But actually, because the companies don't post job listings on the weekend, so actually it gives me an excuse to like not do anything. So it was really nice to do that. But I think it's just like having faith that like you're gonna find a job, like, and we're like people, like so many people are going through the same thing. I remember people reaching out to me like during this time, and it's just reassuring to know that it's like you're not alone. Other people are going through the same thing, and then like we're all in this together, and you're gonna like have faith that you're gonna find it in the end. So yeah,
for sure. I mean, also like I feel like we're all young-ish. Like, don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah, there's time.
You didn't take a gap year, and I didn't take a gap year, so you can't afford to take some months off.
Yeah, it's actually crazy to think that we're already working at like 21. I don't know, for me.
I mean, I think it's normal, right?
Yeah, it's normal. Like, but still.
Yeah, for me it's kind of crazy too.
Yeah. And then I think we can talk about experiences of working our first job, because this is like at least for me, like my first ever job, like official job in my life. I don't know if it's for you, because you did internship.
Same. I mean, internships are like chill, different. But I think it's like interesting how I feel like our firms are pretty similar. Like they're quite corporate and big.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I work a company different. Yeah. So it's like, you know, in the end, like it depends how it turns out. But I really like my job. I like the 9 to 5, and I think like especially compared to, because you were just reflecting on third year, like especially compared to third year, like I like how I'm not thinking about my job constantly.
Yeah, fair. I would say like our firms are pretty similar, big and corporate, and then they have like different branches across the world. So actually it's been like really nice to see like how like the firm functions. I guess, could you say hierarchy? I guess you can say hierarchy, because they're like, you know, you have to like get the director / principals like approval before you can like send it to the client or something like that. And then just like seeing how projects work like in a team is like really interesting to see. And I guess it's also nice because like our friends work at like smaller firms or like medium-sized firms, and you can see like
the differences.
Yeah, the different dynamics, and like how in like a bigger company, like you don't really get to talk to people. Like we said this also, like you don't really get to, at least for me, I find it more difficult to socialize with people because like you're always working and you don't want to like disturb other people.
I think especially in your firm where there's not much of a part one culture. Like there's not many there's no part ones. So.
Yeah. Did you like talk to your part ones often in the office?
Yeah, I think so. I think also big offices are nice because they have quite a lot of socials as well.
Yeah.
Which we discussed, like quite a lot of like just like they have a lot of budget, I guess, or more budget for like things like sustainability and like talks, CPDs, and also like for hanging out, like spending time with just like as an office, pub nights, that kind of thing.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like they have that, and then I don't know if you have this. Sometimes like I hear all the benefits and I'm like, oh my god, I don't deserve all these benefits because no, for me, because I feel like I'm just like at the bottom, like I'm the smallest potato, you know, like.
Oh, that's true.
And then I'm just like, why am I getting all these benefits, like, you know, like free.
Well, they're paying you not much.
Okay, fine. But like, you know, like free lunch on Fridays, like every other Friday,
nice.
like half days off, and then like, you know, holidays and all those things. So I'm like, oh, like that's so nice. And then like, yeah, trying to make the most out of like all those things, you know.
Yeah. I think like especially when you compare it to smaller places, it's quite different. But also like as you said, we're at the bottom. Especially in a big firm, I feel like you really feel like you're at the bottom. Like they give you like the really bottom tasks to do.
Fair.
And then it's nice to like, I think it's nice as a break from very intense work, but also like I guess in the smaller firms you just you'd feel more involved and you'd feel like more responsibility and accountability to the project.
Yeah, I mean, I remember talking to our friends and they were saying like they just get a lot of responsibility, like talking to clients like directly.
Yeah.
Which obviously like we don't get to do that. So I think it's just nice like talking to friends and seeing like the different experiences, and it's just nice to see like how different firms function, you know. But I'm just glad that I get this opportunity like at all. And like even though you're at the bottom, I guess they give you more space and like time to like develop and like train you up, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes like I do appreciate the fact that because like I am like at the bottom of the ladder, so then I can't bear that much responsibility. So like for example, when I leave the office sometimes like everyone's still working and I feel so bad for like leaving on time, but then at the same time it's also like they don't need me, so like I guess it's okay, you know. And then the other thing that I felt like really like a lot like since work started was just the feeling of being thrown into the adult world. When I was in socials of like the companies and like talking to people, like everyone's just talking about their husbands or their wives or their kids, and I'm just like, I'm a kid. I felt so weird. And then it was just like, because obviously like you said, there's no part ones in my office, so everyone's like part two or like about to get married or like they've been working there for like I don't know 10 20 years, and like they like it's just their life, you know. I don't know how you feel about that.
I think I really liked like that you get to see people, because especially I feel like in our profession it's very like we're all on the same path if you're gonna be an architect in the future. So it's nice to see people like 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years down the road and like what that could potentially look for you. Although it's very different, like person to person and firm to firm, but it's nice.
Yeah, it is nice. And I feel like generally people are like really nice, you know. Sometimes when the senior people talk to me, I'm like, oh, do you really want to like
why?
Yeah, I'm like, do you really want to spend your time talking to me?
I still have that like tutee like mindset, but actually now we're all kind of equal, like,
but not really.
Like we're all like adults, you know, so they treat me like an adult. They don't treat me like I'm a student.
Yeah, but still, it's like so weird, you know.
Sure.
And then like when you say looking down the line, actually I had this whole like, I don't know, what do you call it, like you just think into the future. You think in the future like a lot. And then I remember like looking at the people at like the office and I'm like, oh my god, like if I take architecture, is that gonna be me? Like I'm just gonna be working like for the rest of my life. I don't know, this is just like a thought that I had, which is like weird, you know.
Yeah.
But then I think like ever since I started working, I just started like giving my life a lot of thought. And then like things like money, adulting, like work-life balance, and then you have to start thinking about like personal finance, like taxes and like bills and all those things, and it's like so weird to think about, you know.
Yeah, I think also moving on from that, also it's like not just like how you manage money and things, but also like how you would like manage your life, like, and like where do you want to be in 5 years, like even physically. Like when I was younger I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to America, I'm gonna go to UK, I'm gonna go everywhere, like work in Europe for a bit, but like which of these you actually want, and now you have to like start prioritizing what you actually want to do and like work towards it.
Yeah, it sounds so adulty. This conversation is so adulty.
I think also another thing that I realized was that like you really have to find like work-life balance, because school is like a lot of work and not a lot of life, but like it's not sustainable like in the long run. And now I'm glad that like I'm trying to find that now. Like you have to have hobbies and interests, but not just so that like you have something to do in your free time, but also so that you're like a more like well-rounded person. And then that also helps when you like interact with your colleagues and stuff. Like I feel like people always want to work with someone who is more interesting and enthusiastic and has interpersonal skills rather than someone who is just like a workhorse.
Yeah, like your personality is not just architecture.
No, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what have you been doing, like hobbies, like on the side?
Well, not much to be honest. Going out, reading, watching movies. I think it's, yeah.
But like, I mean, just do what you like, and then
yeah.
that brings you like your enthusiasm.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I mean, same here. Like, actually, the main difference, like, I mean, between like work and like school is that like when you leave the office, like you're actually just like distance yourself. I remember in the first week, like, because everything was on Teams, in the email, and then I remember asking some of my colleagues, I was like, should I be kept in the loop? So should I like connect my phone to like my work email? And they were like, don't do it. And then I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do it then. So like when I leave, I really like leave, like they really cannot contact me, you know. So yeah, so I think, yeah, it's really important finding like work-life balance. So like currently, well, outside of work, I'm like doing YouTube, like trying to like lean into that, and then currently I'm writing an ebook on like applying to architecture schools for the UK. So that's been really fun for me. And then yeah, I think I just really enjoy that like on the side, and then you can actually like focus on your hobbies like you said, or like having fun with friends like full on, and not like thinking like, oh, I have to go back to the studio and like do work, you know.
For sure. But I think also it's scary. It's like, because you know that this is a path you can go down on, you know that architects are the future, but then also it's like you do want to like shape that future. Like you want, if I go to start a practice in the future, like I do want to like have a say in what that looks like. And I feel like I have to work towards that now.
You mean like according to your performance in the job?
No, as in like, even though like the job is like my job and then I have my life, I still have to like spend time thinking about what I want to do moving on. Like the job can't be it,
yeah, exactly. Like I had this whole like thought, like I don't know, so like I don't know how you feel. I feel like you're kind of like on the pathway, like, oh, you want to like continue pursuing the path of architecture, which is really good because you're in the environment with so many people like down the line and you can ask them for like support. Whereas like for me, like I'm still unsure if I even want to do a master's for like architecture. So a lot of my thoughts is just like, I'm gonna see how this year out goes and then make a decision. So I'm still like very unsure of my path, because I don't want to like just do masters just for the sake of oh, it's straightforward and I'm gonna do it.
I mean, we're all 22, right? Like this tons of time.
You what? We're only 20.
Oh, you're 21. Well, I'm 22. There's tons of time. Like if you want to like try something different, better to do it now than like
yeah, exactly.
5 years later.
So, and then I thought it'd be really interesting to talk about the idea of job versus school, because like we did talk about this, and I mean we had this conversation when we like hung out like last week, and we were saying like, do you prefer job or like school more? And then we had like very opposing answers, so I thought it was really interesting to like talk about it. So do you prefer job or school?
I prefer working, like so much more. Like I just feel so much more relaxed on a day-to-day basis,
because you know your work hours.
Yeah, and I know like at work also, like I feel like this just comes because I'm in a junior position, but like I don't really feel much accountability. Like if someone told me to do something, then I just do it to the best of my ability. And then if it was the wrong thing to do, it's not really my fault, because I wasn't like I didn't decide to do it. I was told to do it. And like
you're just started, so it's not like you could have known like all these things.
Yeah, but I think this will wear off after a while. People expect you to be like more useful, you know. Just for now. Yeah,
and you also said like, well, yeah, outside of work, and then like you don't have to think about it like a lot.
Yeah, right? I don't feel guilty about not being at work. If I stay like, cause now I think even at work now I go in like for a bit longer every day, because I know I take like some time to like have lunch and stuff anyway. So then I go in like 9 to 6:30, which is like a bit longer. Then I'm like, wow, my day is full, you know. Like I finished my task for the day and everything.
Yeah, but like, didn't you have time where you were also like overworking? Like
yeah. There was about a week or two, no, just 1 week and a few days that I was like staying late, and that was not fun. But also like I didn't mind it that much, because I also knew that like when I didn't feel stressed out about finishing it on time, basically, because like the team was stressed out, but I was like chill, you know. I'm just like a work dog. Like I'm just there to do it. Then when I go home, I don't have to think about it.
Yeah, fair. And like, you don't get, do you get paid for like overtime? No.
I don't think it's common in the
Architecture industry.
Yeah.
But then how does like working overtime compare to like working late nights into like school? Like would you say it's
because I feel like at school, like you feel a lot of personal pressure to finish it though, and to do it well. Like if it's not done, it's because you didn't want to do it.
So like as in like I think
I don't feel as much like accountability.
Like you're not as involved because it's not like your personal project.
Yeah.
So
I don't feel like, and I don't get this like dread. I used to feel so much dread that like, oh, I couldn't finish it by tutorial day, and then I would get like oh, then if I don't finish my tutorial day, then my tutors won't like me. My tutors don't like me, then I can't get a job. Then it's like
my life is ruined.
Yeah.
I guess it's nice to hear like comparing the different late nights, I suppose, like job and work. So for me, like I prefer school. As you can tell, we're the opposite. I prefer school. Like the thing is, like I find it so interesting that we have the same exact reason for like choosing the other option. So like my reason for liking school is because I feel like in my job, like I don't have as much accountability and like I have less control over like what I'm doing, and it's like kind of like mindlessly working sometimes. It's like obviously I know what I'm doing, but then I don't know the full scope of like what I'm actually working on, like, you know, the project wise, like speaking to the clients, like what they're talking about. I never know the full picture. So like I can only do the tasks that they tell me what to do today. So like when I come into work, sometimes I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I only know what.
Do you not like that? Does that make you very anxious?
I guess so, because like I said, remember like in third year I would like after tutorial, I plan my week accordingly. And then, for example, say like I finish my task for Monday, and if I'm really tired, I can be like, okay, I'm gonna leave earlier and then like just chill. But then I know I'm gonna be fine for the tutorial because I already finished what I said I was gonna do. Yeah. Whereas in work, I have to stay there until 6, which is fine. Like I don't mind it because that was my work hours normally at Bartlett as well. But then I don't really have control over it. It's like I finish my task, but then I have to ask them like, oh, what can I help with next, because my hours has not been complete yet.
No, yeah, for
sure. So that was like what I think about. And yeah, I don't like the whole thing of like working mindlessly, and it's not really like my project, because like at school I felt like my project was my project and I had like my say in it. That's kind of like my thought, like compared like job and school. I just like having that. And I felt like at school I was like working it for like myself, you know, it's like my work, like Glory's portfolio, Glory's ideas and stuff. So like I think maybe I got used to that aspect of it.
That's interesting, because I feel like I like the fact that like it's not my project. Like I'm doing this for like the bigger team vision.
Yeah.
Which makes me feel part of something. Whereas I feel like, I think it's so interesting because I feel like when it's my own project, I'm like, you know, like who's gonna look at it anyway? It doesn't matter anyway. But like in work, it's gonna get built, you know, like in the future. You're like making something which is actually like real.
I guess so. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I like the feeling of like it's a part of me. Like it's really me. I guess maybe it's the idea of like another part one could have replaced you on the team.
It's
true. But like
Oh.
with your project, it's like you can't be replaced because it's like your project.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's just like a few thoughts that
That's
I
so
had.
interesting, because I think it's comforting to know that someone can replace me. It's like, you know, I'm not like if I don't do it, like no one's gonna like die.
Yeah. Fair. But yeah, I mean, despite that, I'm still really grateful that like I'm in the company, because like if it's not because of that, you don't really get to know like what you think about like these things and like details. So it's really nice to have that. And I just really appreciate like, you know, the opportunity to get to learn like new things in softwares, and you just see like how far like a software can be taken, you know. And I'm also, I mean, to be fair, I'm just really grateful that like my company took me in, because like I mean, I was doing hand drawings, and then like they took me in, and now I'm doing like Rhino and AutoCAD, and like so I'm just really grateful they gave me this opportunity and just like learn a lot about like the different like cultures of working and everything, and everyone's just really nice in the office. So yeah, I mean, job versus school is like each has its own like pros and cons, you know. So
but I definitely miss like school in a sense that I miss the academic focus of like things. I miss discussing my project like on a deeper level than just like how it looks, and I feel like I miss like the references, I miss like lectures, like, you know, like I miss like the academic side of it.
Yeah, like education side. Yeah. Me too. Yeah, and then I guess the final thing we can talk about is just kind of like the idea of like being an adult versus like a student. I thought that'd be really nice, because technically this is like the end of our student life, unless we go back to masters, you know.
Well, probably will, but yeah, I think it's just like things like it's way more structured now. My week, I know I'm in office 9 to 5. I can even work from home if I want to, but I don't know. And then I also things like just like being more professional. I feel like especially because we've had lots of networking events recently, I want to try to get better at like networking and communicating to like seniors especially, and also thinking about like structuring what my future will look like having an active say in like where I want to go for uni and like what I want to achieve and who I want to become and stuff.
Wow, sounds so boss lady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like my goal is to like start a practice. So.
That's I will like 100% support you on that.
Oh, thanks.
Help with the design and everything. Yeah, I feel like for me, like I agree. Like your week is very like much laid out for you. Like 9 to 6 is like blocked out on your calendar from Monday to Friday. So yeah, I feel like for me, it's really clear. And I really like that routine. Like I thrive on routine. Like I'm getting back my gym routine back. Like I'm waking up at 6 and then like I go back home, I can work on stuff and then I sleep early. So it's really nice. I really enjoy that. And then I know when I can work on like my side stuff and like things that I'm interested outside of work. So it's really nice to have that. And I know that I'm only going to be free on the evenings and on the weekends. So actually I realize now that you're just planning ahead for all the weekends. And then now I'm like, the only free weekend I have the next is like, I don't know, mid-December or something. So it's like planning out all the weekends and stuff. But the only thing I also realized is like you just have a lot less holidays in general.
Yeah.
But the good thing is that you're not bound to student holidays anymore. So you're not bound to like the holidays that a lot of people are going. So like not Christmas, not summer. You know, I was talking
about take leave whenever.
Yeah, you just take leave whenever. So it's nice you can go like on the off-peak seasons for like traveling and everything.
True.
So it's like really good. So yeah, I'm gonna go home during Chinese New Year, which is really nice because like London doesn't have that. So it's really nice. But when I go home, it's gonna be like Christmas. And then like you said, I think it's also like setting like personal goals for you. Like I want to try and be more like financially literate about like what I want my life to look like you said, like in 5 years and all those things, and like how to be a better person. Network actually I never really thought about networking, but like I guess in general just like communicating clearly and talking to people of different ages, because we're always so used to being in a bubble with people of the same age.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like being in a new environment and trying to like get used to it. I was definitely really intimidated in the beginning.
Yeah, I feel like some people are very good at it as well. I'm not good at it that much. But I feel like some people are really good, like at speaking to like seniors at parties or gatherings.
Yeah, I'm not that great. I'm trying.
But I think also like I do think like especially in architecture, like people can tell when you just like work hard and you do good work. I feel like that's the thing that I really like about the profession. It's not a lot of waffling. Like you can't really waffle about like if your work is not good, like your model is not nice, your drawings are not clean, like people can tell. And people would respect you for just like being a good worker.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's just thinking a lot. And like for me, I know you kind of want to go down the path of like architecture, but for me, I think this year is going to be a lot of like soul searching and self-discovery, because it's trying to figure out if this is like really the path that I want to continue on. Yeah, and just giving it a lot of reflection, and like it's totally okay if it's not, but just like giving it a lot. I think it's just like a year of like a lot of deep thinking, you know, or maybe 2 years, because we're gonna be working for 2 years with the graduate visa.
Yeah,
you know,
but you can work in a different like industry, like animation or something. Like you don't have to stay in architecture for 2 years.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, do you have anything else to add with like job so far?
No.
Yeah, have you been enjoying life?
Yeah, but I think I've been like sick recently. I think partly because like the 9 to 5 is a quite intense actually, like on your body. If you like plan things after
9 to
work,
6.
Yeah, 9 to 6. You like plan things after work. You have drinks on Friday.
Oh yeah.
And then like you do things on the weekend. Like it's actually quite a lot.
To be fair, like after work, I just want to go home and sleep most of the time.
Because I feel like last time in student days, like if I had like a night out, next day I could just sleep in. Like
that's what I mean.
Nobody cares.
Well, you can work from home, to be honest.
And you just start later.
Yeah, I think it's just the flexibility aspect is kind of gone. Yeah. The only flexibility is like working from home. Anyways, I think it's just been, for me, like I'm enjoying life so far. I've just been learning a lot, like growing exponentially, like from university. And
that's good.
Yeah, I think it's just nice to like step out from the education bubble and just see what it's like in the real world.
I do like that we have this break before masters.
Yeah, and it's also really nice to just talk to like different people who like studied in the Bartlett and then see like their experiences and working in different firms and just like talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's been really interesting. So that's kind of like our summary and thoughts of working now, like being a full-on adult. So it's really interesting to have this. And yeah, so this kind of is like the last episode of the podcast. And yeah, how do you feel about ending the podcast? It's been a fun ride. It's been a fun
time. I think it was nice to reflect on things.
Yeah.
Especially during lockdown.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, thank you so much for all of you for like joining us so far. Don't know if the podcast will come back at any point,
Maybe.
but
Refresher.
like every like 1 year come back and reflect on our lives. But it's been a really nice journey and reflecting, and we had a lot of fun doing this. But so far we're probably gonna like stop for a bit. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us throughout this journey, and we're really happy to have you on board with us. And yeah, this is our adulting life now, so we'll see where it takes us. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. See you.
Bye.
Goodbye.